Hey friends, glad to be back today in studio. And you know how I love human interest stories. What makes someone tick and how someone got from one place to another, overcoming adversity and problems in life. Joining me in studio is a good friend of mine and someone that I look up to. Marty Norman's here in studio. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
You came all the way to Dallas to be here.
Just to see you, too.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice. I'll believe that, too. But anyway, so Marty, so tell me a little bit more about you, because I know that you have overcome several adversities. You've made a huge life change, and you've become an advocate for other people to do the same.
Absolutely.
So how did you do this? What happened? Tell us a little bit of your story.
Oh, well, first, one word, though. One word, seriously. It was surrender. Okay. Like, seriously, like, 4 years ago, I mean, it's hard to think I am where I am today, and I'll get into that because that's amazing, right? But 4 years ago, I was homeless. 4 years ago, I was sleeping in the streets, you know, and long before that, you know, I was that guy, man. I was stuck in addiction. I was stuck in that chaos, that misery, just that horrible lifestyle that I was living was almost 25 years of it. You know, and one of the things, the reason why I do what I do today on social media and the platform that I use, and the reason I'm here today in Dallas, Texas, for God's sakes, right, is because you know, I like to think that when I was out there in my active use, my active misery, my active chaos, that if I had saw somebody on social media doing what I do, you know, basically documenting the journey and, you know, just spreading hope, right? Because it just going and doing, basically living a successful life, successful in recovery and in their career. Mm-hmm. You know, I like to think that would have been very attractive for me. Like, I would have saw that and said, okay, maybe I want some of that. Attraction rather than promotion, right?
Right.
But that wasn't there. There was none of that there when I was out there using, you know, so what I thought of recovery and sobriety and getting clean, I thought, man, I'm going to be bored, right? What I had in my head was, you know, the man that went to work and he come home from a job that he hated, and he would kick the dog, and the wife would hate him, and the kids would run off, and, you know, they would grow up to be bad kids, you know? I pictured that in my recovery. Like, I couldn't find any, I couldn't see any joy in doing that lifestyle, but I was completely wrong. You know, and that's what I want to show these people. Like, I was completely hopeless. I was completely destitute. I didn't know any differently, but, you know, here I am today. Look at this. You know, I'm flying to Dallas, Texas to talk with you, right?
Right.
World-renowned Ashley Berges, right? I mean, come on. I just did another show with Michael Moulton, you know, a great show. And we're going to be doing a show tonight. We're going to be doing a show tomorrow. I get to travel today. I get to have fun. I get to show people that, look, man, if I can do this, you can do this, right? Mm-hmm. You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's interesting how, I mean, you know, even from my perspective, when I decided, you know, I'm tired of this, I'm going to give up social drinking even, you know, and this was a while back, and I remember thinking, this is going to be horribly lame, horribly lame. And there were some times that I really just did not want to be in the group that I was around because it was horribly lame. But then I began to realize it's all about what you make of it. It's also about what you do in your life. And we have so much to do. And from what I feel, not as much time as we want. Right. So it's like getting rid of all the distractions have been very powerful.
Well, you guys told me it was simple. Like, you guys, when I first got in recovery, you guys told me, well, you guys have been telling me for years, say, Marty, if you take drugs and alcohol out of your life will get better. Well, I finally said, okay, I'm going to give that a shot, because I had tried every other way possible to have some joy and happiness in my life. So I said, all right, you guys must be right, because 10,000 people are telling me the same thing. So I took drugs and alcohol out of my life, and guess what? My life got worse. Right? Because alcohol and drugs were the solution to my actual problem, which happened to be in here and in here, right? I have a spiritual malady. I have a spiritual hole inside of me. It's like huge, right? And I also have a behavior problem, like the way that I think, the way that I behave, the way that I react, the way that I don't react, right? Mm-hmm. I have all these other issues inside here. I'm irritable, I'm restless, I'm discontent, I'm depressed, I have anxiety, I have fear, insecurities. You know, self-worth was completely at an all-time low for a long period of time. That was my problem. And so what I did is I drank and I used to fix that problem, to be okay with the actual problems. Mm-hmm. And you guys took that away from me, and you didn't replace it. And this is part of my fire today. This is part of my passion today, because I got into recovery and I was miserable. And you guys, you told me to go to this church basement, to go to this fellowship and sit there and go to this meeting and do this. And I did that, and I was a wreck. Inside, I was a wreck. I had a smile on my face, you know, because I'm clean and sober, and everybody has a smile on their face. And that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have this smile on my face. But inside, I was miserable, you know, and it took me, I was in recovery for 11 months, and I was faking it, right? And I was doing what you guys told me to do. I was doing everything except the most important things. Like I didn't get a sponsor. I didn't work through any steps, right? I didn't completely surrender to a program, to a higher power. I didn't do any of that. I just got the job, right? I got the people around the table laughing, looking at me, having fun. I got the shower, I got the Band-Aids put on. I even got a girlfriend.
There you go.
Yeah, you know, completely toxic relationship, because she was broken too and I was broken. So two broken people don't make a whole person. They make two broken people.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, and that's what I did for 11 months, and ultimately life happened. I had no defense against that first drink. I had no tools, no spiritual tools. I had no physical tools built up, you know, and I went back out, and I went back out hard. And it needed, like I've heard people saying, I've said this a lot, I regurgitated it, I recycled it, if you will, but it took every last drink I ever took to get me to where I was. So it took me all those drinks and all that drug to get me to my bottom, which was ultimately really low, really bad. Like they say this disease is a progressive disease. I absolutely agree, because every time I went back out, it got way worse. Not like a little bit worse, like way worse. I had a head full of AA and a belly full of booze, and that causes guilt, shame, remorse, you know. So ultimately, you know, what I ended up doing is I ended up going to county jail. They wouldn't send me to prison this time. I'd been to prison 3 different times. I'd been to county jail. I got 4 DUIs. I got driving on HTVs. I got resisting arrest, battery with serious bodily injury. I got all these things, and they're all wrapped around my addiction, my addictive choices and behaviors, and you know, all these things, right? So this time it was different. Like, it was almost like the prosecutor knew because I caught my first heroin addiction in prison. You know? Yeah, absolutely. In Indiana State Prison, I was at Putnamville Correctional Facility, and when I got to prison, you know, I'd been to prison 2 other times. They were like some low-level prisons, and this one was kind of like a pretty decent, it was level 2 and level 2-3, actually. And as soon as I got there, like, 2 people had overdosed and died within the first week, and then that same week, 2 other people got beat to death. And I'm like, that's 4 people in like a week and a half when I first got there. And I just got there, and I'm like, man, what kind of a place am I in, right? You know, I'm kind of freaked out. And I get out at R&R, and I go up on the hill, and the first night I scored a 50 bag of dope, right? And I'm looking around, 50 bag, a button. And I'm looking around, and everybody's getting tattooed up, and everybody's getting high, and, you know, I'm just like, oh, I could do time here. Right. That's my mentality at the time. That's where I'm at. I'm like, this is going to be great, you know? And it ended up pretty bad. I was in debt with some pretty deep people, and, you know, they were threatening my family on the streets and my kids and all kinds of stuff. And I still couldn't think about them. I was still thinking, I'm sick. I want to feel better. I don't care about anything else. You know, knowing in my head that, you know, these people are serious, and still the only person I could think about was, I'm sick, I need to get better. Wow. And getting better is getting high at that time, right? So, you know, that took me, and I always thought when I get out of prison, because when I was using meth before I went in, and I thought if I get out of prison, I'll be able to kick, and I'll be able to go back to the normal life and just use methamphetamine. Okay, yeah. Right? And that's how I thought, man. And I got out, and it didn't happen that way, because when I got out, everybody that I knew I was using meth with had switched over to heroin. So heroin was everywhere when I got out. Wow. Yeah, the opioid epidemic had hit my community and all the communities around me pretty hard at that time.
Wow. So you get out thinking, okay, I'm going to kick this, and then all of a sudden it's right around you.
It's everywhere. It's so readily available. Like, you know, people who I used to smoke meth with that wouldn't shoot up meth, you know what I mean, are now, you know, overdosing and dying all over the place, you know.
How did they flip? Because from an outside perspective in, meth is obviously a stimulant. It's obviously an amphetamine. It's something that speeds you up, speeds your system up. To go from a meth type, amphetamine type product to a heroin product, how does somebody make that switch? I
think, and of course I was in prison when this happened to actually witness it. But I think what had happened was like the law at this time was cracking down and busting all these meth labs, and they were busting big meth dealers. And I think what happened was the switch happened is that heroin became a lot more readily available to the people. And we're drug addicts. It doesn't matter if I can't get speed one night, I'm gonna get something. And it just so happened that heroin was everywhere, so why not?
So it's more like, it's not like necessarily about the specific product. It's about basically self-medicating oneself to forget and to stop dealing with whatever the daily issues are, whatever the life issues are, and try to forget about that, whether that's alcohol, heroin, meth, cocaine, whatever that is.
Yeah, because every time I ran out of something, I would go to something else. I got to, when you can't even get anything and you're broke and you got a couple of dollars, you can go get a bottle of Tussin, Robitussin. You're going to feel, my goal was not to feel the way that I felt.
Got it.
Here and eventually physically.
Right.
When you're physically ill, if you're hungry, you're going to eat. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it is. It's just hunger inside you, and you're going to feed it one way or the other because we just refuse to feel. And nobody has ever, at this point in my life, nobody had ever offered me solutions. If you're going to take away all that, just like when I was saying with, you guys told me to quit drinking, my life would get better, and it didn't. It got worse because you guys didn't offer me a switch. You didn't give me something better in replace of that. Like, I had this huge hole in me. And there was a huge gaping void in me after I took the drugs and alcohol out of the situation, and I needed to feel that. Right. So that's where I come up with, and this is a long process of finally surrendering. Right? Finally surrendering to a program and laying my foundation in 12 steps. I'm a 12-step guy. Okay. I work a 12-step abstinence-based program today, and that's my foundation. So I can't teach anything other than really that. I know there's other pathways. I get it. I'm all about it. Whatever it takes to keep you... Clean and sober is one thing, but whatever it takes to make you happy and more productive and more creative and more enjoying your life, that's what I'm about.
It's very true. It's interesting, and I know it's not the same correlation, but to me, it's a similar correlation. And years ago, I quit smoking, and I quit smoking for 7 years, and I would consider myself the white knuckles non-smoker. Woo! Like everywhere I went, people were smoking. I had an argument, or I would go into the restaurant and be like, "These people are smoking, move them, or I will leave this restaurant." Like when I would go places, I would get irate. And I would get angry, and I would stomp home, and I would do my, I can't believe these people are smoking. And I would smoke everywhere. When I smoked, you smoke everywhere. You smoke in places you're not allowed to smoke.
Smoking in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd smoke in, in wherever, and people would be like, "Man, this is a non-smoking facility."
You can't smoke in church, right?
Exactly. I'll be like, "What's wrong with them? What's their attitude, God,
and so judgmental.
It is. I was like, what am I doing? And so when I literally started smoking again, and I was actually talking to some people I was working with in a facility, in a sober facility, and they were all smoking. So I started smoking again, right?
Oh boy.
So I started smoking for 3 years. When I quit, though, on that third year, I woke up one morning and I said, I never want a cigarette again. It was really interesting. Starting that moment until today, I can be around people smoking. I can be around it. They can sit here and smoke right next to me. Doesn't bother me. If it's too much smoke and I can't breathe, I'll walk out. Can you guys
get me my cigarettes?
Yeah, get the cigarettes. But seriously, it doesn't bother me.
Right, I got you.
And that's when I realized that I figured out I didn't need it. And I got to a place where I felt fine without it. Yeah. Not just fine, I felt good with it. I know it's not the same thing, but it kind of is when you think about it.
It's an obsession, right?
It was an obsession.
Yes.
It was an addiction, and I didn't have another way or another tool. All I knew is that I just wasn't smoking.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It was like the person that stops drinking, but they don't really figure out why they stopped drinking. Right. So they can't go to the bar. They can't be around anybody drinking because it just makes it fester within them. Well, and so I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the difference between sobriety and getting clean versus recovery. Because, man, recovery has nothing to do with drinking or drug. Yeah, of course. At the foundation, you can't drink and you can't use. Or, as I like to say, I don't drink anymore. I don't use dope anymore. Now, I can't. It's a mind switch, right? But that's the difference. Recovery is about one thing, not one thing. It's about so many different things. It's about being spiritual. It's about finding your higher power. It's about doing that next right thing. But for me, and this is where I drive it home, because this is what I've seen. You took away drugs and alcohol. I got bored. Right? I got bored, so I went back out. I got bored. I would do these things that you told me to do, and I was plain and simple. I went from this rock star lifestyle, right? Even though I was homeless, begging for $1 in the streets and robbing my grandma for her painkillers. Rock star lifestyle, right? But with the women, the drugs, the partying, the alcohol, just being that guy, being the man, if you will, and taking that all away, I got really bored, so I went back out. So today in my recovery, because since in my recovery and what I believe recovery is about, it's about creating your world. It's about creating your world, not whether it be business, whether it be in your recovery, whether it be finding that fire, finding that passion, and going for it. What is it? Okay, you're clean and sober. What is it you want to do with your life? Do you just want to work at the gas station? Cool, if that's what you want. But I'm trying to inspire you and motivate you to want more. And that's what we do on Monday Motivation. That's how it started. Me and Brian Kendrick, that's what we did. We're like, man, but so many people are complaining about Mondays, like, oh, I got to go to work. I'm like, man, how do you have a job where you just hate it?
Yeah.
And I get it. Sometimes we got bills to pay. I'm realistic. We got bills we got to pay. We got things we got to do. But we also can make plans to get out of that mess, right? So quit complaining about Monday. Quit making excuses and get up off the couch and go make we get one life.
It's true.
And you're going to waste it at a job you hate, drinking and partying and waking up with regrets, remorse, shame, all those things. I wasted 25 years of my life. I refuse to waste another day.
Powerful.
You feel me? Find that fire. Find that passion and go after it. No excuses, no complaints, no blaming. You can blame all the people in the world if you want. You can blame your mom, you can blame your dad, you can blame all those voices in your head, but nobody gives a shit, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It doesn't change nothing. You either got to come to that realization that my excuses are not helping me. Me blaming my brother is not helping me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to push that away, and I'm going to find my fire. I'm going to find my passion, and I'm going to go after it. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to go after it. We live in a world right now. Look, we got the internet. We got social media. We can do anything we want to do. Dream it, and then go get it.
I love that. Powerful stuff.
Huh?
Yeah, that's great stuff. And I think it's so true, and that's something that I actually resonate with too, is that when you feel like you've wasted time, and I think a lot of folks out there right now feel like they're behind the 8 ball. They feel like they wasted time. You look at your age, you look in the mirror, and you go, God, what have I done? Yeah. But you know what? Starting now. Just start now. I mean, just start doing something right now.
Right now, in this moment, go get it. Get up off the couch, man.
Do it
after the show, of course.
Yeah, wait for us to get done here.
Wait till this is over, and then get off your couch.
It's so true, though, and it's like think about and find whatever it is that's kind of that you're holding yourself back with.
Yeah.
Because we're smart people, and we use things. We use drugs, alcohol, people, relationships, all that stuff to distract us from the reality of our situation. We allow those things to get in our way. We choose those things to get in our way, and then we blame those things. When in reality, we got to look at ourselves and say, what am I so scared to look at myself for? Because as I always say, we come in this world on our own and we leave on our own. So
guess what?
It's kind of important relationship with ourselves.
We're going to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Remember that. We're going to die. Exactly. So you got this little period. As a guy in I did on the Monday Motivation, we had a guest the other day, and he was talking about on his gravestone that you have a year that you was born and a year that you died. And there's that little dash in the middle, and that's your life.
Yeah.
So you was born here, you're gonna die, right?
That's
so what are you gonna do with that dash, man? That's where it's at. That's just that dash. And when you realize that you're gonna die, you might lose some of the fear that you had. Like, oh, I can't do that because this might happen. Oh, I could lose the. So what? Failures are my greatest asset. Like that's what I learned. When I don't grow until I fail. I don't grow until I get my feelings hurt. I don't grow until I make a mistake and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucked. That hurt a little bit, but what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I teach another person about this? Because that's what it's at. It's that relatable aspect.
It's true.
Every time I fail, I can be relatable to somebody else going through that. So it's good, right? It's good.
I failed a lot too. I can relate.
I don't believe that for a minute.
I can totally relate. So, one last parting words for our viewers, for our friends that you would like to tell them.
Man, first off, make a plan. That's important. Make a plan. I still to this day, I got over 4 years clean and sober, and to this day I still make a plan every night and every morning. Like I write it down, pen to paper. What have I got to do the next day? What have I got to do the next week? What do I got to do the next month? What is my goal for next year? I write it down, and then I get up in the morning and I drink a bunch of coffee and I go get it, right?
Nice.
And if you guys need motivation, inspiration, or you want to see a couple of goobers in recovery, right? I got a YouTube channel called Marty Norman Live _, I believe. No, that's the Instagram. Marty Norman Live. You can find that on any social media. But on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on Marty Norman Live on Facebook, we do a Monday motivation. I call it the outside issue because that's what I am. I would go to all these places and they'd say, that's an outside issue. I'm like, that's me.
That's cool.
That's up. I'm tattooed on me, you know what I mean?
I love that.
But yeah, man, and if you need help with drugs or alcohol, reach out to me because I can't do all this without providing resources. So regardless of anything, if you are a family or a loved one or looking for help with drugs and alcohol, please reach out to me or reach out to anybody who's out here who's really doing it that you can really trust, man, because even with anxiety, depression, because they correlate, mental illness and drug addiction correlate so much. I realized that in hindsight that everything that I was doing wrecking my life was all because I was self-medicating. So I'm with you. I've been there. Reach out, look up, and reach out.
I love that, Marty. Great to have you in studio today.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. I'm honored.
Just glad to be here, and I look forward to having you on again.
Yes, absolutely.
I definitely want to check out the Monday Motivation.
Yes, it's crazy.
For their information on the Monday Motivation, it'll be in the description in this video. So all that information will be there with the active links as well. And so it's all about what you're doing. It's all about that moment in the dash, right? What are you doing with that dash? What are you doing? I think it's a very important wake-up call. I know one thing is that anything that I allow to get distracting me in a negative way, well, you know what? It's taking me off my course. It's taking me off my journey, right? Yeah. It's taking me out of the now. Be in that moment. Be in this moment because that's all we got. And when you're in the moment, it's more comfortable because when we look to the future, it's scary. When we look to the past, it can be regretful and remorseful. Stick here right now and really just focus on that and be in the now and feel your heartbeat and feel yourself and realize if I take every moment by moment, guess what? I can get better. I can be myself. I can do what I need to do. And in that process, you're never alone.
Winning.
Awesome time. Enjoyed having him in studio. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Also, add your comments to this video. I'd love to hear what you think and your thoughts if you've dealt with recovery and addiction and the things that you've gone through. Positive, negative, everything in between because that's what makes us who we are. Also, don't forget, in the meantime, to live your true life. Are you currently in a toxic relationship and unsure what the next day will bring? Have you often wondered if there's more to life than this? Do you suffer from self-esteem issues that you've had since you were a young child? Have issues or have difficulty speaking with your family? Do you feel surrounded by self-centered people? Seems as though you're always giving and they're always taking. If you've answered yes to any of these questions, you need some answers. The 10-day challenge to live your true life gives you the knowledge and techniques for creating boundaries in your life that help us to deal with family, as well as dealing with those narcissistic and toxic people in your life. It offers the insight into understanding and overcoming your self-esteem issues, and to begin to see for the first time your amazing value. You owe it to yourself to find the power within you.